Social commentary is a topic that has become something of an item in modern cinema. Sure, it's always been around, but in modern day we've had some pretty memorable, arguably iconic films that dive deep into social classism and identifying the different struggles different economic classes deal with. Off the top of my head, some that stick out as favorites in this regard is Sean Baker's The Florida Project, Jordan Peele's Us, and Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You. And of course, a master of this style of thematic storytelling is Bong Joon-ho. I mean, he literally made Snowpiercer, which is one of the grittiest depictions of lower classes in the back being taken advantage of so the people in the front of the train can thrive, literally feeding them cockroaches, and the film showcases perfectly how the system is built for the less fortunate to not succeed, to the point where they have no other choice but to organize a coup against the more powerful. 6 years later, he released Parasite, which is what really got people's attention, and rightfully so. I absolutely love Snowpiercer, but Parasite is what really got him the recognition that he deserves. I mean, it literally won Best Picture. The film, shockingly, again tackles how the less fortunate will do anything to get in a position that will give them better conditions, even at the cost of lying and cheating their way to that position. But what I really loved about Parasite, outside of the exploration of this theme, is how much the movie highlights the connections between these family members. They felt real, you know? All of them are flawed, sure, but they look out for each other and they're not trying to sabotage each other just to get ahead. No, it brings that familial atmosphere into the picture, and when you get to the climax, it delivers in every way. It's not perfect, but realistically, it's not gonna have a fairy tale ending. And now he takes his metaphor to literal outer space in Mickey 17. This film unfortunately was delayed a long time due to the justified writer's strikes. Nevertheless, it finally released, and the premise follows Mickey 17, who is sent on a human expedition to colonize the ice world Niflheim. But after he is presumed dead, Mickey 18 is created, unbeknownst to anyone that Mickey 17 isn't actually dead, and with both clones now present, they have to face the consequences of both being alive simultaneously. I think the most relatable part about this film is that Mickey is essentially a person who lives and works to die. It leans into that black comedy element very well. We all can appreciate that. I mean, it's safe to say in some way we all live that expendable situation, so good on Bong for being spot on. It felt purposeful. Also, this film is based off of the book Mickey 7. I haven't read the book personally, so I can't really say whether it was faithful or not, outside of the fact, of course, that we, for some arbitrary reason, got 10 more Mickeys on film. But regardless, this film being a black comedy does deliver that cynical tone you'd expect from a black comedy. Early on in the film, there's this feeling that nobody cares about Mickey or the pain that he's going through. It's interesting because it's a perfect example of how important sound is on film. Like, even though the characters are nonchalant and unmoved by Mickey's ordeal, the music is very sympathetic and telling the viewer, hey, feel bad for him, look, he literally just lost his arm. But not just Mickey, the film also kind of displays how everyone on board is being mistreated. They get fed an indescribable pile of gunk, they're all in these grey, joyless suits, and in general, this film purposefully looks very lifeless because the lack of color is very apparent outside, of course, of Toni Collette. Her bold colored dresses and golden hair always stood out. Also, the effects in this movie look great, especially in terms of the creepers, though I can't really tell whether they're disgusting or kinda cute. And the effects of the scorching skin or limbs being torn off look really good. And while the color palette felt extremely muted, the world itself felt very immersive. Like, this was a place where actual people lived in. And I don't know how they did it, but the editing in certain parts of this film is absolutely ridiculous. Especially when Mickey 17 and Mickey 18 are first interacting. That whole sequence when Mickey 17 is going to Nasha's room to confront 18. He walks into the room where you're facing him. He turns around and without cutting, Mickey 18 comes into the room and touches him on the shoulder. Again, all without cutting. It's unbelievable. The blocking is really well done, and the camera's just having a lot of fun with how many times the two Mickeys interact and converse all seamlessly. And in terms of performances, I've said it before, but Robert Pattinson is the quintessential example of how to break a stigma. He's no longer just Edward Cullen. He's proven time and time again the kind of beast of an actor he is. I love The Lighthouse. Him and Willem Dafoe are phenomenal. We all love how awesome Pattinson is, obviously. And even in this film alone, he's great. Had the writing been better, it would have been an outstanding performance. To have the ability to so effortlessly play two vastly different versions of the same character, and more importantly, how believable each one feels, just emphasizes the kind of caliber of an actor Pattinson is. Usually you hear people talking about how, oh, this actor wasn't able to play off of this actor very well, or they were able to play off of each other so well that it enhanced their performances, but how do you play off of yourself? If nothing else, this film makes me wonder if Robert Pattinson in real life has a doppelganger, because this film makes you believe there's two different people on screen even though they're the same face. Mark Ruffalo was an obnoxious, over-the-top Trump stand-in, which was fun for the most part, maybe just reel it in a little bit because he was teetering into that Nick Cage territory at times. And Toni Collette, what can I say? She's always a delight on screen. This wasn't my favorite performance of hers, but it was still good. She was quirky as hell. I thought the gimmick of her obsession with sauces was cute. She was also kind of like a master manipulator because she kind of puppeteered Kenneth into doing whatever she wanted because of how idiotic he was. There's a great head-on shot of Toni Collette having that distressed, exasperated cry that is basically her trademark facial expression at this point. And somehow in a movie that is not a horror film, there ended up being a very effective horror scene. It's like they realized, oh wait, we hired Toni Collette, let's put together a very unsettling dream sequence around her, even though it serves no purpose for the plot, because why not? And of course it was really good. She's terrifying and amazing, and I love her. The effects, editing, and performances all really carried a lot of weight for me on this one though, because my issues lie in the story. Like, as much as Mickey 18 is fun as hell and a very good version of those pent up frustrated emotions that Mickey in general feels, I don't see why he's so aggressively different than any of the other Mickeys that we met before that. Like, we got to meet quite a few of the other versions of Mickey in the first half of the film, but none of them felt vastly different from one another. And at least for me, one throwaway line about how each Mickey shows a significant emotion doesn't justify 18's stark variance. What makes him so special outside of plot, you know? There's some good performances here, but Stephen Yeun and Naomi Ackie had the potential to be very interesting characters, but neither met the mark for me. Naomi in particular, outside of that amazing monologue at the end where she really reams into Kenneth, I couldn't get behind her character, especially because of how detrimentally horny she was in the second half. And I really liked her introduction. I thought her relationship with Mickey was really charming. Steven's character on paper was much better because he represented the literal opposite of Mickey. He always got away with everything, he just had luck on his side. But it's like the movie didn't really know what to do with his character, so instead it decided to check in on him every like 40 minutes to see what he was doing. It just felt very unnatural, and it should have been much more important, especially because of how important he is to Mickey's story. I mean, he's literally the reason why we're in that spaceship. Listen, I love when a movie makes a bold move. Dropping the title card 45 minutes into the movie is such an audacious choice to make, but I feel like the setup for the movie was really dragging its heels. Maybe less mashup time of the deaths and more time actually experiencing that pain with Mickey, so this way we can get more invested in his story. And I just felt like this wasn't as thematically resonant or as nuanced as his other films, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when the messages are that on the nose and heavy-handed to the point where it feels like you're being spoon-fed everything, it doesn't interest me nearly as much personally. Still, overall a decent watch. I think I liked it, but I didn't love it, and it hurts because I really did want to love this film. But that's it for me. I'd appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, and sincerely yours, Anthony.